Here's the truth nobody tells you. Most RVs die young, not from miles, but from the people driving them. I've seen rigs crumble before 60,000 miles, and mine just passed 700,000. Same roads, same engines, completely different habits. 17 small rules that turn breakdowns into extra years on the road. The scary part, almost every driver is breaking at least 5 of them right now without realizing it. These aren't theories, they're the exact habits that kept my engine alive when others failed. Miss just one, and your R-vee could already be dying. Let's start with the first, ignoring the cold start rule. Here is where most engines lose years before they even leave the driveway. Each cold morning, metal shrinks tight, oil thickens like syrup, and friction waits for the first spark. When you twist that key and hit the throttle too soon, every moving part inside that engine grinds against dry walls that have not yet been fed a single drop of lubrication. Those first 8 seconds decide whether your engine lives past 250,000 miles or dies before 120,000. I learned this lesson back in 2011 on a chilly March morning. A customer started his rig, revved it to 2,800 revolutions per minute, and let it sit roaring for 5 minutes, thinking he was helping it warm up. 3 months later, his bearings looked like silver sandpaper. The fix cost him $4,600 money that could have been saved by 30 calm seconds of patience. Fleet reports from Cummins and Caterpillar back it up. Nearly 70% of mechanical wear happens in that unprotected window right after ignition. The remedy is simple. Turn the key, count to 30, then roll away gently. Let the oil circulate, let the metals expand, and keep the revolutions below 2,000 for the first 2 miles. That habit alone can add 50,000 miles to an engine's lifespan. So, before chasing power or performance, learn restraint. Cold starts test discipline more than horsepower, and the engines that outlast them all belong to drivers who understand that silence and patience are the cheapest insurance you can buy. But even a perfect warm-up means nothing if the schedule guiding your maintenance was never written to make your rig last, following the factory maintenance schedule blindly. Most owners trust the little booklet that comes in the glove box like it is a law carved in stone. But that schedule is not a promise of longevity. It is a warranty timer designed to get the manufacturer off the hook. When you see an oil change listed every 10,000 or sometimes 15,000 miles, understand what that really means. It means they need the engine to last just past the coverage window, not a mile more. In my shop, I have opened engines that followed those factory intervals perfectly. Inside, I found sludge baked thick as asphalt, piston rings fused, and camshafts scored deep enough to catch a fingernail. One of them was a 2019 Ford E-Series with only 98,000 miles on the clock. The owner did every service at the dealership, right on schedule, and still ended up paying $4,200 for a rebuild. Fleet data backs this up. When we shortened oil changes to every 5,000 miles, component wear dropped by almost half. Fluids stay cleaner. Bearings stay alive. That one small adjustment turns an engine's life from temporary to timeless. So treat that factory chart as a suggestion, not gospel. Maintenance written for survival is not the same as maintenance written for endurance. And even perfect intervals mean nothing if the air your engine breathes is choking it from the inside. If you are finding value in this breakdown, take a second to hit like and subscribe. It tells me to keep digging deeper into what really protects your rig. Share your thoughts below. Your experience might help someone else avoid a costly mistake. Ignoring air filter health. Every engine breathes, and what it breathes decides how long it lives. The air filter is its set of lungs, but most owners forget about it until the engine begins to wheeze. That small square of pleated paper decides how much dust, sand, and microscopic debris end up scoring the inside of your cylinders. Ignore it, and every trip becomes a slow grind of abrasion you will never hear until it is far too late. I remember opening the intake of a 2016 Winnebago Mini Winnie. The owner had logged 67,000 miles without touching the filter once. What I pulled out looked like a sheet of asphalt black, clogged and stiff as cardboard. The throttle body was coated in grit, and the mass air sensor was caked in grime thick enough to block signal flow. His fuel economy had fallen by 11%, and his spark plugs were fouled from suffocation. A clean air filter costs $25. A new mass air sensor, $250. An engine teardown, $4,000 and beyond. Change it every 12,000 miles, or sooner if you travel dusty routes. Cut it open afterward and look for oil or soot. It tells you the story of your engine's life. Fresh air keeps your motor alive, but pressure keeps your tires honest. Let us move from the lungs of your engine to the shoes that carry its weight. Running low tire pressure. Few habits destroy an R-vee faster than low tire pressure. That harmless sag is mechanical cancer bending sidewalls, building heat, and warping suspension geometry with every mile. It is the difference between gliding and grinding. I checked a 4,500-pound rig running at 26 pounds per square inch instead of 35. That 9-pound gap raised tread temperature 45 degrees in 20 minutes. The tires feathered, the alignment shifted, and a shock began leaking. A $1,200 repair born from neglect. For every 5 pounds low, you lose 1% fuel economy and 10% of tire life. Over a year, that is hundreds burned away. Always check pressure cold before trips. Never trust gas station gauges. Use your own digital reader. Tires are not air. They are structure and safety. Keep them firm and they will pay you back in miles. But even perfect tire pressure means nothing if the weight sitting on those tires doubles what the frame was designed to bear. Letting the engine idle to warm up. Starting the engine and letting it idle feels gentle, but it is silent damage. Cold idling sends unburned fuel past the rings, washing away the oil film that protects metal. What remains is friction and diluted oil that cannot defend the bearings. The longer it idles, the faster that wear multiplies. A 2012 Tiffin Allegro came into my shop after years of 10-minute warm-ups. The oil drained out, thin as ink. Compression down 20% on 2 cylinders. Valve seals hardened from fuel contamination. The bill, $4,700 for a habit that felt harmless. Data from Cummins and Ford Motor Company shows oil heats 8 times faster when driving gently than idling. The fix: start, wait 30 seconds, then drive easy under 2,000 revolutions per minute. Real protection happens in motion. Idling builds comfort, not longevity. But even the most disciplined warm-up means little if the fuel you feed that engine poisons it from within. Idling to warm up the engine. Idling an engine to warm it up is an old myth that belongs with carburetors. When an engine idles cold, the fuel runs rich, slipping past piston rings and mixing with oil. That fuel strips away the protective film that prevents metal-on-metal wear, leaving bearings defenseless. I opened a 2015 Thor Challenger that idled every winter morning. The oil smelled like gasoline, the walls were coated in varnish, and compression had dropped 20%. The owner thought patience was protection. It was decay in disguise. Tests from Cummins and Allison transmission prove oil warms 8 times faster when driving gently than when idling. Start, wait 30 seconds, then drive easy, keeping revolutions per minute, under 2,000 for the first few miles. Motion builds safe heat. Idling builds damage. Every second of stillness quietly shortens the life of your engine. But heat and fuel are only half the story. What comes next hides in the fluid lines that keep everything turning. Slamming the brakes. Brakes are built for control, not punishment. Every hard stop throws thousands of pounds forward, spiking heat into metal. Slam the pedal, and rotors can hit 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to glaze pads, warp steel, and boil fluid. Repeat it, and your brake system becomes a bill waiting to happen. I inspected a 2017 Fleetwood Bounder that lived on panic stops. Rotors were blue from heat. Pads cracked like pottery. The owner said, "It still stops fine." 2 weeks later, the steering wheel shook violently at 50 miles per hour. Warped rotors, $980 gone again. Good braking starts before your foot hits the pedal. Ease off early, coast, and downshift. Treat momentum like money, and you will save both. Smooth stops double pad life, and keep your system clean. Violence burns metal, precision earns miles. And while your brakes control the motion, corrosion below the frame controls your future. What hides under the rig can end it faster than any hill. Skipping undercarriage washes. What you cannot see can bankrupt you. Beneath every rig lies steel and bolts carrying thousands of pounds. Ignore it, and corrosion becomes your next repair bill. Salt, dirt, and grime trap moisture, starting a chemical war that eats metal molecule by molecule until failure. I lifted a spotless 2013 Jayco Red Hawk shiny paint. Clean interior, but its frame rails flaked like rusted bark. Brake lines were pitted, fuel lines blistered, and a crossmember cracked. 5 winters near the Great Lakes without a single rinse turned into a $6,500 repair that a $15 wash could have prevented. A high-pressure rinse once a month. After snow or beach travel stops, rust before it spreads. Focus on wheel wells, suspension joints, and frame seams. Neglect kills in silence, but water and 10 minutes of effort can buy you years of strength. And while corrosion eats from below, the next mistake begins inside your cooling system, where heat and chemistry wage their own invisible battle, ignoring coolant age. Engines rarely die from friction, they die from heat. Coolant is the bodyguard that keeps temperature steady, but over time, it turns acidic. That acid eats aluminum heads, corrodes gaskets, and leaves hairline fractures that grow with every mile. Ignoring coolant age is like running your heart on poisoned blood. A 2014 Forest River Sunseeker came in with brown, sludgy coolant full of metal flakes. The radiator cap was rusted, and a pressure test showed exhaust leaking into the system. One skipped flush 8 years ago became a $4,200 repair. The service that could have prevented it? $120. Flush coolant every 3 to 5 years. Never mix colors, each uses different chemistry. When pH drops below 7, your system is dissolving itself. Heat never warns before it kills. Keep coolant young, and your engine will survive long past its badge. But liquid health means nothing if electricity cannot flow. The next habit hides where power meets corrosion right on top of the battery. If you have made it this far, you already know the difference between luck and maintenance. Subscribe now so you never miss the next habit that keeps your rig running longer, stronger, and cheaper than anyone thought possible: letting battery terminals corrode. Power loss rarely starts with a dead battery. It starts with corrosion, you can see. That white crust on the terminals is acid vapor, eating the metal and weakening the current. Starts become harder, alternators strain longer, and components quietly burn out under stress. A 2011 Winnebago Vista rolled into my shop after refusing to start. The owner insisted the battery was new, only 4 months old. Under the hood, the terminals looked frozen in snow. The clamps had nearly dissolved. Voltage at the starter read 2.5 volts low, and the alternator had cooked itself from overwork. The repair totaled $970, all from skipping a 10-minute task. Once every 3 months, clean terminals with baking soda and water. Rinse, dry, and coat with dielectric grease. A clean connection means full power and a longer life for every circuit you rely on. Electricity keeps everything alive, but the next habit drains it from within fuel starvation that begins right inside your tank, running the tank below a quarter. Fuel pumps live deep inside the tank, cooled and lubricated by gasoline. When the level drops below 1/4, the pump loses that protection. Exposed to air, its motor overheats, seals dry, and bearings scar. Every mile on fumes shortens its life. I pulled a tank from a 2013 Coachman Freelander that constantly ran near empty. The pump housing was scorched. The strainer melted, and at only 82,000 miles, it was done. The repair, $640, came from habit, not failure. Low fuel also stirs up sediment rust, dust, and debris resting at the tank's bottom. That sludge clogs filters and injectors, leading to hesitation, rough idle, and power loss. The rule is simple: never let the gauge dip below 1/4. It is not comfort, it is protection. Fuel cools your pump. Starvation burns it alive. But even a full tank will not save you if the spark meant to ignite it is weak or worn. Next, we head straight to the plugs. Ignoring engine mounts. Vibration is the language of damage, and engine mounts are the translators. Their job is to absorb violent energy every time you accelerate or shift. When they wear out, that force hits the frame instead, causing shaking, clunking, and metal fatigue through the drivetrain. Ignore it, and you are not losing comfort. You are breaking structure. A 2010 Itasca Sun Cruiser once came in with what the owner called a little rumble. The front mount had split in half, letting the engine jump over an inch at idle. Another week, and it would have cracked the exhaust manifold. The repair cost $1,190, an expensive reminder of neglect. To check, foot on brake, shift to drive. Rev to 2,000 revolutions per minute. If it lifts, replace all mounts together using high-quality originals or heavy-duty polyurethane types. Quiet engines live longer. Secure engines live longest. And even with the engine held firm, what happens next is hidden inside the circuit's ground connections that decide whether your power stays steady or shorts itself to death. Neglecting ground wires. Electrical failures rarely start with blown fuses. They start with weak ground wires. These hidden return paths carry every amp your rig uses. When they corrode or loosen, voltage turns to heat, heat to stress, and stress to failure. Symptoms appear: random dim lights, weak starts, flickering dashes, but the cause is almost always a bad ground. I worked on a 2012 Numer Baystar with a dashboard that blinked like a casino. The owner replaced the battery, alternator, and harness, spending $2,800. The real issue? One ground strap rusted to dust behind the engine block. A 20-minute fix solved it all. Inspect grounds every 6 months. Clean corrosion, tighten bolts, and coat metal with dielectric grease. Electricity needs a clear path home. Give it one, and you will never chase ghosts. A clean ground is cheap insurance for flawless power. But even perfect wiring cannot protect you from what happens when the transmission runs hotter than it was ever built to handle heat, that turns fluid into sandpaper. High RPM driving. Power feels good, but high revolutions are silent killers. When the tachometer stays above 2,500 revolutions per minute, transmission fluid begins to cook. Heat breeds friction, and friction destroys parts. Smooth shifts turn into hesitation, shudder, and failure. I opened a 2011 Holiday Rambler that towed heavy at near 3,000 revolutions per minute for hours. The fluid poured out black, smelling of burnt varnish. The clutch plates were glazed, the torque converter scarred. The repair cost, $7,300, half its value. Experts from Allison Transmission warn that oxidation doubles once fluid reaches 240 degrees Fahrenheit. The cure is patience. Shift early, use overdrive, climb steady, never force it. Speed is not control, it is stress disguised as power. Keep the heat down, drive smart, and your transmission will outlive your payments. Yet even the smoothest highway manners mean little if the moment you stop, the weight of the rig is left resting on a single metal paw inside your transmission. Skipping the parking brake. Stopping does not mean your rig is secure. Most drivers shift into park and walk away, trusting a finger-sized steel piece, the parking pal, to hold several thousand pounds in place. On any incline, that small hook carries the full load alone. One snap, one roll, and the damage is instant. I inspected a 2009 Winnebago Adventurer that broke free after years of lazy parking. The pal had fractured clean through, sending the rig into a fence. The fix required pulling the transmission. $2,800 gone to habit, not failure. The right order prevents it. Foot on brake, set the hand brake first, then shift into park. On slopes, turn wheels toward the curb and block the downhill side. It takes seconds and saves thousands. Trust mechanics, not luck. A firm brake costs nothing until the moment you forget to use it. And even the best parking habits mean little if you believe every urgent repair that the service writer waves in front of you, believing every urgent repair. Service bays often run on quotas, not care. You go in for an oil change and walk out with a clipboard of urgent red flags, flushes, cleanings, and fluid swaps you never requested. It sounds protective, but it is profit disguised as maintenance. Every upsell adds money to their books and risk to yours. A 2018 Jayco Greyhawk owner once showed me a quote for $1,600, a so-called critical fuel injection cleaning. His rig had only 32,000 miles, perfect trims, and spotless injectors. The same note appeared on every invoice that week. The rule is simple: question everything. Ask for photos, data, or the technical bulletin that justifies the work. Good shops show evidence. Bad ones sell fear. Independent opinions have saved drivers thousands. Confidence is earned through proof, not panic. Always pause before paying, because the smallest details like corrosion on two metal posts under your hood can cost just as much if ignored. Never missing a fluid change. Longevity is not luck, it is discipline, measured in miles and oil. Fluids are the bloodstream of every machine, and skipping one change is like running without oxygen. They clean, cool, and cushion every moving part. Ignore them, and you spend future repairs in advance. I kept a full log on my 2008 Winnebago journey. Every 3,000 miles, something was serviced: oil, coolant, or transmission fluid. 15 years later, the odometer passed 700,000 miles, with the original engine still smooth. Total maintenance, $12,400. Rebuild avoided, $24,000. Those numbers are real, logged, and proven. Oil carries heat away. Coolant prevents detonation, and transmission fluid keeps gears alive under load. Neglect multiplies quietly until it demands payment. Discipline is the cheapest tool you own. Keep fluids fresh, and the road will return miles most never reach. And when all those habits work together, 17 simple disciplines. You stop gambling with your investment and start mastering it. If this helped you spot the habits killing your R-vee, hit like and subscribe. It keeps this channel rolling. Drop a comment below with how many habits you're fixing before your next trip.